Welcome to the Ranchonomics Podcast, where we empower you to build a better ranch and transform your operations into a thriving business. I'm your host, John Haskell. Let's get started. Taylor Moyer, welcome to the Ranchonomics Podcast. I am thrilled to have you here today. For those of you that don't know, Taylor runs cattle in North Carolina and works with an organization called LandTrust. And I would like to learn a little more about Taylor today and a little more about what LandTrust does and how that works. And we're probably going to have to explain the name just very briefly. So Taylor, welcome to the Ranchonomics Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Good. First, explain the name. We just had to clarify that. So make sure I get it right.
The name of the organization is LandTrust, one word, not to be confused with a conservation agency. And trust is a big part of our business model between landowners. So that's where the name comes from.
Good. And we're going to get back to that in a minute. So I really want to visit more about that because I think that's an important part of the name. Give us a little background on yourself. You've been on a couple of podcasts like the Working Cows podcast and the Herd Quitter podcast. Give us the brief intro and tell us how you got here.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, the brief intro is born and raised on a apple orchard and yearling operation in Vermont. Did an 18-year career in NASCAR, which a lot of people know about. Just kind of the weird backstory that makes me unique. Bought my farm in 2018, built my business model to step away from racing. Did that last November. That's how you and I ran into each other. I needed somebody to keep me in line. So being not really first generation, but on our own, as far as, financially and this business is on our own, we stack a lot of enterprises. We turn the crank as fast as we can, as Malachi would say. And we try to do things differently than all our neighbors, because that's where we find the margins lie for us. Not because our neighbors are wrong. That's just where the opportunities are for us to capitalize. So
yep. Wally Olson's favorite book is The Art of Contrarian Thinking, right? It just like you say, it doesn't mean anybody else is wrong, but like Warren Buffett says, walk when they're running and run when they walk. And I think you should add in the opposite direction usually.
Absolutely. That's kind of my personality anyway, so it fits very well.
Yeah. Give us a bit of a description of your environment in North Carolina. I'm in the West, you're in the East. It's similar but different. So explain it just a little.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys that have said they would rather ranch in the West than the East, even though we grow a lot of grass, because we fight a lot of things. 46-inch annual average rainfall. We were over 60 inches by August here. And funny enough, with our clay contents, we're always 2 weeks from a drought, which we're kind of sitting in right now.
Yeah. And you're sitting on the edge of a drought, having just been through a hurricane going through your area, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an emotional roller coaster, but no, we enjoy the challenge. But we try to use all those things to our advantage, right? So we grow a lot of grass. It may not be super nutrient dense, but it's green with a little protein supplementation. It does grow good cows. I think it's good cow-calf country because managed correctly, you can grow grass almost year round. That dirty fescue does really well. Stockpiling holds its nutrient value. I like to say our off season is really the middle of summer slump.
When it's so hot.
Yeah, we get so hot, and that grass, like this year, we had good grass growing, but I could tell it was just out of gas. There was nothing in that grass that was nutrient-wise for the cows. So we always have the option of getting around that with some summer annuals or some creativity.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, we get a lot of opportunity to talk about your operation, but I don't want to spend all of our time on that today because I really want to focus on this LandTrust project. So would you give us a little background about that, kind of an introduction, and then we'll talk more about that as we go?
Sure. So LandTrust is a two-way marketplace to connect ranchers, farmers, and landowners to people that want to recreate in the outdoors. That could be hunting, fishing, bird watching, anything the general public wants to experience. We are the facilitation tool to help landowners monetize anything they'd like to monetize. We all know that great school we've all been through. Ranching for Profit. It is literally a turnkey concessionizing tool. Like most companies, it was started by just solving a problem. Our founder and CEO, Nick, the company's out of Bozeman, Montana. Nick moved out there. He realized, unlike his childhood, door knocking's not really a thing anymore throughout this country, whether you agree with that or not.
Yeah.
It only takes one bad egg to ruin it for a landowner. So he just set out solving the problems for how the general public and people can reconnect with landowners, and that both parties feel secure, safe, and okay with the transaction to let people use their land. And then on the flip side, to let landowners be able to monetize the recreational value out of their land without giving up any property rights, not leasing it away, not signing anything into an easement, stuff like that. So we really fall, if you think about hunting, which is how the company started and is the bread and butter. It's the in-between model of leasing your place out to an outfitter or the hunter just going to public. When you book through LandTrust, you're booking exclusive rights, very similar to Airbnb. If you book a whole house, you're not going to be sharing the land with other hunters. So it falls into a couple different categories really well from the outdoor recreation side of, if you're a first-time hunter, it's a great controlled environment to learn at your own pace, not feel pressure from being on public land and stuff going all over the place.
Yep. Great
for kids and dads or kids and families. You take the safety factor, dial it back. It's just you and your family. But it's been really successful. Started out west and we're definitely marching east quickly.
Very good. So is it an app? Like, do I got it on an app like Airbnb or Uber to book? Or how does it, give me a little of the mechanics?
Sure. So currently it's a website, not an app.
Okay.
But it is exactly that. It's a website run by a team of our team, LandTrust, of real people. Both sides are run by real people. We have a 24/7 line you can call, whether you're a landowner or a sportsman. So from the mechanics side, if you're a landowner who's interested, you can call and talk to one of our customer service representatives, and we build you a listing on our website. So you would go to the John Haskell Ranch listing, and we build this all for you for free. We put it in front of you. It's your ranch, your piece of land. We want you to be proud of it. You give us the thumbs up. You say, yeah, that represents me well, or whatever. We keep working on it. Within that listing, we build different packages which you would like to offer. So let's just use you as a hypothetical. Maybe you have some elk. Maybe there's an elk hunting package. Maybe there is a ranch tour package. Maybe there is a bird watching package. Bird watching was a $41 billion industry last year. Maybe there's just a general recreation package, which just gives people access for a day to your land to go hike with their kids, get outside of, Sheridan and just want to hike around in the mountains.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that goes live and that gets published on our website. We help do the marketing. That gets put on our website and then anybody can see. And from their end, it's very much like Airbnb in that you can search by state, you can search by outdoor activity, you can see a map, you can scroll in, you can click, it'll show you the different listings, filter by whatever you would like. And then the cool thing is you can communicate with the landowner before you ever make any commitment. So if you just want to ask questions about what their land might offer or, what the experience might have, you can communicate through our website, so you don't have to pass out your phone number or anything. It's secure communication. Ask any questions you want, connect with a landowner, and when you feel comfortable, you make a booking request. At that time, the landowner, let's say you didn't talk to them at all. Taylor Moyer just gave John Haskell a cold booking request. It's going to pop up on his cell phone, on your cell phone. And you can even look through my profile as a customer. You can look at my rating from other listings I've been to. Similar to like a Facebook marketplace transaction. You want to get comfortable with the other party before you meet them in a dark alley to buy fencing supplies out of their trunk. Don't ask me how I know that. You get comfortable. And if you, John, are comfortable with me, you accept the booking request. If there's for some reason, something comes up and you don't want people there that day, you can send me a proposal of new time. You can make any adjustments you need. At that time, as soon as you accept, the money is taken from my account and it sits in an escrow account. And it sits in an escrow account to the morning of the actual experience, at which time when they step foot on your property, that money drops down into your accounts. And that's just so if there was any refund situations, we're not pulling money back out of your accounts. But the sportsmen recreators, they have to have their credit card on file. We have their ID on file and they're third party verified. So you're never chasing payment. It's automatically pulled and drawn and we handle all that.
And with all of that identification, if there is a problem, like you say, there's a two-way rating system, but also we know who the people are. This is not just John Q. Public who's walking around. This is a known individual and his family kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yep. So they have to make a profile just to sign up to use the website. They can peruse it, but to make a booking, they actually have to make a profile in which we have to go through all types of hoops to accept them. And then same way, I mentioned it briefly, but after the experience is a two-way rating system similar to Uber or Airbnb where you rate each other. And we do some serious business. And I'm not saying we've never had to resolve stuff, because we do, but we handle it personally. We make phone calls. We find resolutions to the situation. And if it's not the right fit, both landowner and sportsman, I mean, we're a private company. We just ask them not to use our platform.
Okay. So somebody comes and leaves all the gates open and a stack of beer cans where they picnic and that sort of thing. There's a way to resolve that. And that person
absolutely
come back. Oh, I love
Yep.
it. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's jump in real quickly to the services that we offer. So coming out of Bozeman, right, we assume that this is a hunting oriented platform. You mentioned it's moving east. I probably want to have you dispel the myth that this is all hunting that we're doing here. So talk a little about that, would you please?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not all hunting. In fact, this summer, when there's not many hunting seasons, we certainly did a lot of business in what we call the farm and ranch experience category.
Okay.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably on a farm and ranch, which means you're less than 2% of the population, which means the 98 other percent of the population doesn't get to experience daily what you do. And there is a model to go to a dude ranch. I've worked at a dude ranch. That's one experience. But there's very much also a model where people are, especially this day and age, are genuinely inquisitive on where their food comes from and how production agriculture systems work. We'll get into the liability part, but this is the tool for you to be able to bring people to your farm and ranch to do whatever you would like to monetize securely. So yes, we have hunting of all different species. We have some really cool species. You can go hunt trophy size alligators in Louisiana now. You can hunt doves. You can hunt predators. You can hunt. I can't think of species that we don't have other than some exotics. We're in 41 states.
Okay.
We are partnered with over 1.25 million acres and growing daily. But yeah, we have, let's move outside of hunting and fishing. We have people with just general recreation listings, which just gives people access to maybe go hike. We have some archaeological listings, which are really neat, and some in Wyoming around a certain Custer's last stand type situation.
Yeah, good. Hopefully that's not the experience, but
no, let's hope not.
That was a bad experience for some people a while back.
I always encourage all of our landowners to offer some type of farm and ranch tour. Now that one does take up your time or somebody's time to give a tour.
Yep.
But it's a really good opportunity to be compensated for your time and then to have some FaceTime with the general public and share your story. Not everybody wants to have a social media presence. I get that. It's a pain in the butt, but we have some really good examples of people offering farm and ranch tours. We have some good examples of people just offering the opportunity to come to a branding and watch.
Right.
That Yellowstone show that people don't love, I understand completely the gentrification that probably came along with it, but it's shed a lot of light on the Western culture and industry, and people want to experience that. So maybe there's a way, set the value at whatever's worth your time to set somebody on the outside of your corrals out of harm's way and watch what goes on. Bird watching, stargazing, camping. Camping has become a big part for us, whether it's nothing more than offering dry camping and just having a flat spot, all the way up to, we have plenty of landowners that have cabins or houses for rent to go along with these packages. But there's the in-between too. Anybody that's got grain bins or a set of corrals with power, that is a great spot to let somebody pull in with their RV and plug in. And there is a lot of people who would rather, pull in next to a set of corrals under the stars than be in the local KOA just to have some tranquility. So like I said, the landowner controls what they offer. So it's really up to their imagination. I cannot wait for the day that the first buddy seat in a combine is monetized. Somebody's going to do it. Look at Big Farming YouTube. Big Farming YouTube is huge, right? Big Ag YouTube. And a lot of their viewership is little kids. And it's probably not in fact, my neighbor did this, not through LandTrust, but it's not unfathomable for on a little boy's birthday. He wants to go ride for 2 hours in a combine. It's his dream. He's going to be asleep in 10 minutes, but some mom will pay $50 an hour if you can deal with the incessant questions about what's this and what's this and what's this and what's this button do. But
this is going to be how I find my next babysitter. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Well, we talk to a lot of direct-to-consumer producers who they have customers that want to do some sort of on-farm experience. They wind up doing a lot of it. They do it for free. It's kind of, just scheduled ad hoc. This would be a way somebody gets that question, they could say, hey, we work with LandTrust on this, book it on the website. There's a schedule, there's a fee schedule. That could just be a conversation you don't really need to have once you set it up, right? And then with the day they show up, you just take them on their tour and answer their questions and don't have to do all the negotiating ahead of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple big points there. The landowners have complete control of everything, including their time. So they can even block out chunks of time in the calendar on the back end where people can't book, right? So, whether it's harvest time or like Thanksgiving or holidays, you don't want people to book, block it out. No big deal. The other big thing is, and Nick, our founder, is very famous for saying this, and he's not wrong, is if you're letting anybody on your farm with the current legal spectrum in the US, if you're letting anybody on your farm that probably doesn't have the same last name as you, you're less covered than if you run a booking through LandTrust. We have layers of complementary insurance when you're a landowner partner.
Okay, good. Get into that in some detail, if you will, because I think that's a big concern.
Yeah, that's actually the highest concern to most landowners before anything fiscal. When a sportsman signs up through our website or a recreator, they're agreeing to a terms of service, which is our fine print, which part of that terms and service is they indemnify the landowner 100% non-liable for anything. So there's that. Also, we carry a large liability policy for any incidents that may happen. We also carry another policy for any property damages. We also, complementary to you, we send out state-specific signage to put at any entry point that they can see that has, most states have some type of agritourism wording within their state bylaws or constitution. So we send those signs out for free. And then we also help you with, we don't do much facilitation, but we know about most agriculture insurance companies will have an agritourism rider. So me personally, I use Farm Bureau. I think it's $269 for the year for another agritourism rider. So I feel like I'm covered with about 4 layers of liability here, which is way more covered than I was without LandTrust.
Sorry. So you guys have insurance, and then the landowner also will need to pick up insurance. And then I assume they're also named on each policy. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's not mandatory that they would pick up more insurance if they're comfortable with it. But if somebody wanted to be as insured as they could be, depending on what state they're in, we could help you figure out all the layers of that.
Okay. And liability insurance generally is relatively cheap, right? So most of the time when we're talking those types of policies, we're talking hundreds to maybe a few $1,000s a year. We're not talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And I would assume that, maybe it's a wrong assumption, but I would assume you already carry some type of liability policy on your ranch before us. Usually it's just an agritourism rider that goes on top of that for hundreds of dollars that adds the bringing in the public layer.
Yeah, very good. Okay. I talk to a lot of people who struggle to fully implement the new wonderful things they learned from continuing education. You take ranching for profit, you go to a stockmanship class, or you take a marketing course, and you come home and you struggle to fully implement what you now know. Often the barrier isn't what you know, it's your own mind. Bud Williams used to tell us to get our mind right constantly. We know a lot of the right things, but implementing them often requires a new mindset. Fred Provenza describes conquering your own mind as the longest 6 inches, the distance between your ears. Sometimes you need to unlearn a few things you think you know. In the Zone Rancher course offered through ranching.fyi, Bob Palmer teaches us how to have an elite-level mindset. Bob has spent his career working with Olympic-level athletes, the military and business people, teaching them how to work in the mental zone where they are most effective. We've all experienced the feeling of choking. Many of us know that we don't perform at our best under pressure. Many of us have also experienced the zone as a fleeting moment of brilliance when we perform at our best. Bob helps prepare us mentally for those high-stress situations where the consequences are dire and/or the stakes are high. He teaches us how to practice correctly to get our mind right. He has developed tools that allow us to consistently perform at our best in the moments when we need it the most. Life in the zone is better. It's better for your business. It's better for your family. Join the next round of Zone Rancher through www.ranching.fyi and lead yourself and those around you to a whole new level. So let's talk about income opportunities. So that covers our risk a little bit. What is possible? So obviously we're charging for this experience. And I assume LandTrust takes, just like Uber, LandTrust takes a little cut and we get a cut and we kind of figure out how to make this work. So let's talk about how that happens.
Yeah, let's actually back it all the way up to the beginning. The reason I love working for this company is it's one of the few companies I can think of within agriculture that's not extractive to the landowner. We don't make one dime until you make money. We do all the setup for free, all the work for free. Everything is complimentary. And then the revenue model is just a revenue share model. It's an 80-20 model. If you have $1,000, let's say elk booking, you're going to get 800 of that. We're going to get 200 of that. That's how we get compensated for our time. That's how we get compensated for the insurance we carry for you, the website we actively manage and keep the lights on at our office in Bozeman. So,
yeah, love it. Okay. So if I own 200 acres somewhere and I think I've got dove hunting, what could I make? If I've got trophy elk, what could I make? If I've got bird watching or tent sites, give us some ideas there. And I know it's not the same everywhere.
Yeah, it's not. And it's not very much about acreage we found. It's more about the experience you can offer to somebody. So I'll start at the base values, right? Like our average waterfowl booking last year was a $2,400 booking. You're in Eastern Montana, you're in North Dakota, you're in South Dakota, and you have a bunch of ducks show up. Please list it. We can make you a lot of money.
So, and that's for a day?
No, that would be average booking value. What we found is a lot of people don't book for one day for hunting, right? So that might be on waterfowl, it's probably a 3-day booking.
Okay, but that's not a season or anything. Like that's a fairly short period of time.
No, that is our average booking value for a waterfowl activity is that number from last year.
Okay, waterfowl, ducks and geese for anybody.
Yep.
Okay.
Or turkeys. Average booking value for turkeys is $700. And those I've found out west are something that a lot of ranchers can't even believe that people will pay to hunt those things because they're just around their haystack.
I would second that. And if you've ever eaten a wild turkey, I would third that. So yes, but okay, great.
$700 average booking value on turkeys, $700 average booking value on all upland birds. The upland bird one, this data is a couple months old, but I bet that's even higher. That has exploded for us.
Yeah.
And a cool story about a farm of ours in South Dakota is that we've seen some of the booking values for upland birds happen so much that we've seen people kind of change their strategies farming to leave more. Like everybody stares at their yield monitor on their combines. If you've got a couple acres of flooded out corn that didn't get replanted, that would probably cost you money, diesel fuel and depreciation to drive your combine through. We've seen guys drive around it to leave cover, make it a little trashy, but the upland birds love it as winter cover. Maybe we don't bush hog all our ditches. We leave some more cover. And we've seen some farms start doing more and more and more because they keep making more and more money every year. So they change some of their practices kind of towards conservation type practices to add some more wildlife.
Good. So, and let's just clarify for upland birds, we're talking pheasants, quail, grouse.
Yeah.
Prairie chickens, whatever. That's kind of that class of things. And I imagine in places like, doesn't South Dakota or North Dakota have a pretty aggressive state funded program where the state will pay you for access? So I'm assuming that in South Dakota, you kind of compete with the state in that, right?
Yes. South Dakota has a program like that.
Like a walk-in deal.
Yeah. Montana has some stuff called block. Nebraska's got stuff. I know. I've talked to Logan Pribno about that. We're a different model than that. When you sign up for those state programs, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, and every state's different, they pay you by the acre. You don't have any control of how many people go on, when they're going on. It's the property rights thing that you're giving up. So that is a good strategy for somebody, maybe, if it fits their business model. For some people, their fear is gates and heifers, right? And they would rather have control. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going.
Yeah. Mule deer, $2,600 is an average booking. Whitetail, $1,500. Farm and ranch activity, $375 is an average activity. And then we know for a fact that if somebody can just offer lodging, meaning it could be nothing more than offering a place to dry camp, as I said, or have an RV hookup or a cabin, we've seen most of those bookings go up 40 to 60% in value because now people will stay longer. And especially if they can bring their families, right? If you can bring the wife and kids out and they stay comfortable, you have a lot more time to go do all that stuff you want to do versus staying in a hotel and driving back and forth. So that's the add-on.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up, but I think what we're talking about is this definitely provides some good income opportunities. It definitely provides us with, protection from liability and that sort of thing. And then what you really keep emphasizing, and it's highlighted in our contrast that we just talked about with like South Dakota and Montana's walk-in access type programs, where you have control. You know who is on your land. You know how many people. This is not just some blanket thing where there's a sign anybody driving by on the highway can pull in. Like, there's a process. And if you have a problem, there's somebody on the other end that is going to help you work through that.
Yep. And the one other point I want to hit on that goes with the financial things is everybody's always going to ask the high side, right? So we have landowners. We have landowners. Let's take last year's data because it's in. Our top landowner did $73,000 extra. That's revenue that's not tied to commodities, markets, politics, or any other BS. And that's real money where we've seen landowners bringing family members back home to run this revenue side, which is really cool. A daughter-in-law, son-in-law, sister, if you take it and run, it can be a whole very viable revenue stream that is the risk category is much different than the agriculture production.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing I wanted to say is that this model goes very well. In fact, that's what we tailor to is production agriculture places. We're not a sign-up service, so we're not corn mazes and pumpkin patches. We are an add-on revenue service, a facilitation tool for the farmers and ranchers out there.
Love it. Taylor, this is awesome. Lots of good info. You touch on the pumpkin patch thing every time I go there with my kids. We have one near Sheridan, and I swear that's got to be the highest return per acre of any crop I've ever seen, but never mind. We'll talk about that another time. So, Taylor, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Where can people find more info?
Sure. Just go to LandTrust.com. There is a chat in there, which you are literally, truly chatting with Josh or Colin. There's a phone number. If you call the phone number, you're going to get Josh or Colin. You can also find us on all social media, LandTrust_Hunt. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can email me directly at Taylor@landtrust.com, and I'll answer all the questions you have. If you're a landowner and you have any questions, you're going to deal with me because I'm the landowner partnerships and marketing manager. So,
love it. And Taylor is Taylor, correct?
Yep, just like that famous singer. She stole my name.
Oh yeah, good. Well, I know you and she are aligned on lots of things, but we're not going to talk about that today, right?
I mean, I'm a big Chiefs fan. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Tell us some cool stuff about your website. So you guys have a lot of marketing resources, and you've got a few ways that you help promote things to the customer. Why don't you walk through a few of those?
The website's neat. In fact, I think everybody should know the team of people we have. More of the people are professional website builders, engineers, data scientists. Like that's what the partnership's about is you're partnering with a team of people who are really, really good at the technical side. So with that, they built this awesome new feature we call Field Notes, which is our social media per se. It's a Twitter, it's an Instagram. And what it is it's a direct feed for the landowners to post photos and now video of updates of things on their land. So you're in the combine, you're out horseback and you see a herd of elk, antelope, you see waterfowl, migratory birds start trickling in. You see some cool artifacts that people might want to hike to. You can just post that live to Field Notes and we can monitor that traffic. And we've seen people now daily looking through the Field Notes for new experiences they might want to go experience, especially the hunters. You start posting pictures of things that people have successfully taken or wildlife showing up, or maybe it's a season thing and a certain condition on your land, whether it's the grass is green, the ponds are frozen, whatever. You post those updates, you're actively marketing to our audience. We know that our people are checking that to see the updates and then capitalize on those updates. So that's a really cool new feature that we've seen taking off.
Awesome. And it is just kind of like a social media news feed. You can scroll through and see what's there. So just to give an example, there's one from yesterday that's on the She Ranch in Big Sandy, Montana, of a really nice little mule deer buck that somebody shot there. And that's pretty cool. I know all my hunter friends will become addicted to this, right? Because it's just straight up what they want to see in their social media.
So I'm a hunter myself. And what stinks about the model a little bit is like duck hunting is very popular. And you generally have to book a duck hunting trip a year in advance to get a spot. And then you're just completely at the mercy of the weather And is Canada froze up yet? Is North Dakota froze up? Are the ducks here? There's not a lot of flexibility in that. So yeah, you get to go hang out, watch the sunrise with your buddies, but it's a lot nicer to know there's ducks where you're going. And this is a good way to, book trips. Basically, I can book today and go tomorrow on a lot of those duck properties.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. And again, that just gives, I think that gives an insight into how this company is going to work and what drives it, because their ability to appeal to customers and go back to that very successful model, just like Uber and Airbnb have come up with, of how do we match the best customers with the landowners, where that match is a high value interaction.
Absolutely.
Very different thing from advertising in your local newspaper or putting a 3x5 index card up in the feed store.
Yep. Yeah, you could be middle of nowhere in Nebraska, and you could have a crazy appeal to somebody sitting in Charlotte, North Carolina, like myself. I want to go duck hunt the sandhills in Nebraska. How else are you going to reach people like that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Taylor, thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. I'm sure we will have more to discuss about this in the future. We have actually talked about, for the rest of you, we're probably going to do a webinar with ranching.fyi to go through some more details about this and kind of walk through how it works on a video conference. So look for that coming soon, and look forward to talking to you more, Taylor. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
You bet. Thank you for tuning into the Ranchonomics Podcast. We hope this episode helped you win today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend.